Hello and welcome to Game Changer, brought to you by Connor's Coaching. My name is Daniel Connor. I'm your host at Game Changer, and you can show your support for us by logging in, liking, and subscribing, and leaving a comment about what inspires you in this video. We are
Mhm.
created to inspire positivity by covering topics about positivity, coaching, personal development, leadership development, emotional intelligence, and more. We go live every Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. and today we had a technical issue which caused us to have to struggle a little bit, which is fine because that's all part of resilience, which I talked about earlier this week. So we are joined by guests on the second and fourth Wednesday of each month, and we have one here with us today. Joining us today is Maryann Udel. She is the owner of YourShelteringTree.com. I think of her as an emotional warrior. She's returning to us for the second time. She was a guest with us in July. It was our first episode of our second season and our first episode here on YouTube. And she talked to us about grief the last time, kind of overcoming loss and handling that. And she's here today to talk to us about the upcoming holidays and the types of feelings that we might experience, um, unexpected or expected. Well, welcome, Maryann. Thank you so much for being here and for being patient with me today.
Oh, Daniel, thank you. I'm so happy to be here and to share what I have with your audience. It's a
Yeah.
pleasure.
Well, it certainly is a pleasure for me as well to have you, and hope to have you again in the future as well. But
Mhm,
in case anyone missed your first appearance on our show,
mhm.
tell us about your business and you as a coach.
Okay, I'm a certified life and business coach, and my expertise, my focus is on grief and loss, and that can be individual or companies. I've worked with a lot of individuals. I have both small group programs and longer mastermind programs. And I've worked within companies as a consultant, offering confidential conversations when people had things that EAP couldn't handle. Or there's a massive layoff and everybody needs to talk to somebody, or they're going to file suit against the company. So those are ways that I have worked. So my ideal clients are people who have gone through the initial stages of grief or loss, but they're not sure why they can't move beyond and find their new chapter.
Kind of
That's what we explore.
stuck on that
Yeah,
grief. Well, in
yeah.
if there's someone in our audience, what are some signs that they might see in themselves that indicate that they should really perk up their ears and take note of what you have to say?
Well, I think if there's a nagging feeling that something is wrong, or they feel broken, or it seems that everybody else is doing okay, but they're not, um, where there's this lethargy almost, and it doesn't have to be constant, it can be just occasional. And I think that sometimes that has to do with unresolved emotions,
Yeah.
feelings associated with grief. And it can be something that happened a year ago, or it can be something that happened 30 years ago. There's no timeline.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting because we oftentimes associate grief with just with losing a loved one,
Right,
but grief can come in all sorts of different forms. You
right,
can have a grief of loss of identity. You know, if
right,
you've moved from one position to another, you can feel like you're grieving in some
right.
ways, and we don't necessarily give ourselves space for that, do we?
No, not at all. And I think because, first of all, our society doesn't talk about grief, and there's this notion that you're supposed to be okay, that you should have gotten over it by now, or that you're broken if you still feel it. And nobody talks about the grief associated with divorce or a breakup, or you lose your job, even when you go into retirement, or you're dealing with an empty nest,
Yeah,
or move
transformation
to,
is so
yes,
important.
Yeah, I know that I had a conversation with someone who helps seniors move out of their homes and into assisted living or a senior community. And the loss that they feel over leaving the home that they might have shared for 40 years with someone, it's enormous. I know my mom had a little bit of that when they moved.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, we're here to talk specifically about holidays today because, I
Mhm.
mean, what a great time in a couple weeks we start them.
Well, I think that people have been in the midst of them since Halloween and before
Right?
even.
Right. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, if we went by store advertisements, what, July 3rd approximately is when Christmas starts. Um, but what are some of the types of feelings and challenges that you've observed from people that you've worked with?
Well, I think the biggest thing is having this idea of how things should be, that there's a false image of how the holidays should look and how they should behave during the holidays. So it sets up this unrealistic expectation that, well, in all the commercials, all the families are happy. All of the people are doing all of these wonderful things. And that's how my holiday should be. So that's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be happy. And really, on the inside, they're just falling apart. So unrealistic expectations just set up that um, that feeling that there's something wrong with me. That why can't I be happy? This is the happiest time of the year. There's and the holidays point up a missing person, or they emphasize a relationship that has problems. And there's all of these feelings of how things should be, of how you should feel. So everybody is shooting on themselves too much. And
Yeah.
it's very difficult to live up to an unrealistic expectation or an image.
Yeah, I mean, even when we look at Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving is the holiday of gratitude, where we look at our lives
Mhm.
and think about how blessed we should feel, right?
Right.
And it's easy to look at other people and think, gee, I have a lot going for me, but why do I feel so bad about myself? Am I selfish? What's wrong with me that I feel
Mm.
so negative about my life? And one of the things that I learned, just to share, is
Mhm.
the hedonic treadmill is you never compare your life to the
Mm.
circumstances of other people's lives. You're comparing your life to your expectation of what your life should look like based off of your recent experiences and based off of your expectations that you've created for yourself. So you're creating your own misery
Right.
in
Right.
some
Well,
in some ways.
and I think that you have to keep in mind also that what you see is not everything.
Right. Right.
Especially with so much of the best things on social media.
Yeah.
You see the cream of the crop. You see maybe somebody took 50 pictures and there's one that looked good.
Yeah.
You don't know what anybody else's experience. I guarantee you that every person you see on a daily basis has some sort of challenge or pain or trouble that's going on, and you can't compare based on what you see.
Everyone's life looks perfect on the outside because they
Mhm.
protect themselves from that insecurity of letting people see their flaws. So of course
Well,
when you look
yeah.
at other people,
Mhm.
it looks great from the outside, but that's not the truth. That's not the
Well,
truth.
exactly. There's two different things that you might come up against. There can be the facade that everything's okay, but there also can be an acceptance of the
Yeah.
reality of what is, and then still be able to find your happiness. And that is what you want to try to achieve. And that, I think, is one thing that will help people during the holidays, is to acknowledge whatever your reality is.
Yeah,
If
how
some
much? Yeah, how much does putting up appearances, how much does that contribute to holiday feelings?
Well, that gives a weight to them. It puts undue pressure on you. It causes stress. It it can cause you to burn out, and you won't have any joy or happiness. You know,
Mm,
there's this desire to have everything perfect, and that doesn't exist. It
mm,
it never will. And I think that people try to have this picture perfect holiday when it and ignore, maybe there's somebody that's sick. Maybe there's somebody who's dealing with a disease. Maybe there's so and so. Maybe it's the first year after dad walked out, or there was a divorce, or somebody died, or somebody lost their job, and you try to pretend you're still okay, but you're not.
yeah. What
So
are,
the
oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
what you want to be able to do is acknowledge the reality, feel whatever feelings you're having, and then decide how this year is going to be different.
What are some of the other challenges that you've seen people face with regards to handling holiday emotions?
Well, some of it comes from outside pressures.
Yeah.
I think that other people said, "Well, why can't you be like your old self? What happened?" Um, or uh, you put those expectations on yourself, those pressures. That it's just pretending. So I think that that's a big one, especially. And if you're struggling and you don't want the rest of the family to know about it, that can be hard.
Yeah, that
And
really
the
adds to
more,
it.
yes, the more honest you can be, the better. And then everybody can have an open discussion. And if you open the conversation, you might find out that somebody else is having problems too, or somebody else is dealing with a breakup and they were afraid to talk about it. How many times do you see a movie or something, and then a divorced couple will come together to a relative's wedding just so nobody knows about the divorce, is like, or the separation, or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
It does sound
So
like a plot line for a Hugh Grant movie.
yes, exactly. Um, so there's, I think pretending
Yeah.
is a big thing. Yeah.
What about pitfalls? Where have people gone wrong in trying to handle their feelings, or what are some like wrong paths to take?
Well, aside from the false positivity, the um, what is that? Toxic positivity.
Yeah,
That's
toxic positivity.
the toxic positivity, that you pretend everything's okay when it's not. There's that. There's carrying around too much anger, or blaming everybody else or the circumstances. There's shame. There might be feeling shame over things that didn't go right, things you might have done wrong, and it can lead into a cycle of depression and just make things worse. All of those things are not helpful.
You've heard of the blame shame game, right?
Um, I know about blame shame, but I don't know it was a game.
Yeah, well, it's a game no one wins. So the only way
Oh,
to win that game is to just not play it.
oh, I like that. That's good. I'll have to use that on my clients. Yes, good one.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Um, so and yeah, and and that to kind of explain that, when you get into this blame shame loop, it's
Mhm,
really about projecting that blame on others, or feeling like that shame that you're feeling is projected on you in the form of blame, and then you
mhm.
feel like you have to defend yourself. That it
Yeah,
just is it's a vicious cycle, and it self perpetuates, so you just have to get off of that loop
yeah.
somehow. Well, if someone is out there and they feel like Well, what can I do to prepare for these holiday
Mhm.
feelings, or they expect us to see these holiday feelings? What are some steps that someone can take to help themselves through this season?
Well, I prepared a little PDF that I think you're going to make available to your audience here. But there's like 5 keys. The first thing is to feel your feelings, whatever they are. There's no good feelings or bad feelings. They're all just feelings and they need to be felt. Because if you don't feel them, they'll come up eventually. And in the pressure of the holiday season, that is when they will explode. And you don't want to go postal or erupt or end up in a road rage accident or blow up on your family for
Yeah,
that matter.
just
So,
hit a breaking point, you know.
yes. So, feeling the feelings is the first thing. Then, really looking at what the reality is of this holiday season. How have things changed since last year? Have people gotten divorced? Have there been any breakups, or was anyone diagnosed with an illness, or did anyone die? Um, being sensitive to everything that has changed since the last holiday.
Yeah,
And then you want to just decide what it is you have the capacity to handle. Don't overdo it. Don't expect yourself to do all the things that you normally do. What do you feel comfortable with? And you have to communicate that to your family and friends. Say, I'm feeling a little low this year, and I really would like to just have a simple Christmas. You can invite me to come out with you, but if I don't want to come, please don't force me. I'm okay.
yeah.
And then, find things that you want to do that will give you a little bit of comfort.
Setting
And
boundaries is really important for
oh,
sure
huge.
around the
Yes.
holidays.
Yes. Yeah. Know what you do not have the capacity to handle. And and really important to communicate it to others, because unless you explain how you want to be treated, they'll just treat you the way they've always treated you. So you have to teach them how to treat you and say, "Don't worry, I'm okay. I'm a little low, and there's nothing you can really do to fix this, but let me feel it."
Yeah,
And that's what I think people are afraid to admit that.
yeah. And you can even express gratitude for the compassion that they're showing you,
Mhm. Yes.
but don't make that an invitation for them to step all
Oh,
over your boundaries that you just set, right?
right. And you might have someone come over and offer to help you or be with you, and that's okay. Just say, "Okay, could you walk the dog, please? Or could you take out the trash?
Yeah,
Or I need to, I really want to send some Christmas cards, but I need help."
yeah.
You know,
Or
so
no thanks.
yes, that
A
too.
perfectly valid response.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, if someone isn't ready to go this themselves, or they feel really uncertain about their ability to
Mhm.
handle this, I know that you're there to help. What
Yes.
are some of the services that you provide?
Well, right now I have a 3-month program that I'm starting that's called Recharge Your Life. And in the 3 months, it's really taking a look at what it is that you're feeling. So it's guiding people through the process that I go with all of my clients, where you feel the feelings and accept your reality. I have exercises and guidance to help them find what it is they want to do with their life and create a plan to move forward confidently. So it's um, making peace with the past.
And when does that? You said it's a 3-month program. When does the
Ooh, I'm
thing
glad you
start?
asked, Daniel. Thank you. It starts next Tuesday, November 15th.
Tuesday.
And
So links for that event, and also for your 5 keys to manage the holiday grief.
mhm,
Those will be in the comment section for this video.
right. That's great.
Do you
That's
have
wonderful.
anything else that you would like to add about the holidays?
Well, I think look for the joy, look for the simple things, it's not the material things that will make you happy. It's finding that fresh, brisk walk in the winter air. It's seeing the smiles on children's faces, or spending time, if you're a religious person, spending that time getting connected to your spiritual self, or sitting quietly and crying with a Christmas movie or watching the Hallmark Channel. So I think that it's just giving yourself permission to feel and be human and accept whatever it is that is.
Thank you so much for being here with us today, Maryann.
Thank
As always, it's been a pleasure to have you. And to our audience, thank you so much for being here and being patient with us. We'll correct the links in our announcements for the video. I'm so sorry for the technical delay. But since you watched this video, if you wouldn't mind taking a moment to log into YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and leave a message in the comment section about what inspired you or what your plan for dealing with holiday emotions is. And we'd love to have you come back and join us next week. We're going to be talking about celebrating successes and how that recognizing accomplishments can help create real gains. So we'll see you then, and happy holidays to everyone. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.